Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking on a concept
Hmm.
that is, let's be honest, a little uncomfortable, but also incredibly vital. It's memento mori.
Remember, you must die.
Exactly. And our sources today all point to this fascinating idea that really facing our own mortality is maybe the ultimate shortcut to a life of urgency and real purpose.
It's the beautiful contradiction of being human, isn't it? I mean, we've pulled all this material and it forces you to hold two completely opposite truths in your head at the same time.
Which are?
That we are incredibly fragile, just temporary. Marcus Aurelius was brutally honest about this. He actually called us rotting meat in a bag.
Wow, okay. That certainly cuts through the clutter.
It does, but then inside that fragile bag is a mind that can think about the entire cosmos, and that's the tension.
And it's a tension we spend most of our lives trying to ignore. The sources call it a sleepwalking existence. We just put everything off.
We do. We postpone the difficult conversation. We delay telling people we love them. We waste so much time on trivial things.
All because we act like the clock isn't ticking.
That's the trap. Infinite time means infinite postponement. So the mission of this deep dive is to figure out how to stop sleepwalking. How do you take that fear, that universal fear of the end, and flip it?
Turn it into vitality, into power.
Exactly. It's the most powerful antidote to a trivial life we have.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The urgency of the finite. Where does this whole confrontation with reality actually begin?
Well, it starts by accepting a really uncomfortable truth. We have to start with Blaise Pascal, who was blunt, to say the least.
How blunt?
He said the final act of life is always bloody, no matter how fine the rest of the play, and then he just boils it down. They throw earth over your head, and it is finished forever.
That is, yeah, that is hard to hear. Our whole culture is built around avoiding that thought. But the Stoics, like Seneca, they didn't avoid it. They used it. How do you harness that?
Seneca's advice was to treat every single day as if it were a complete life in itself. He said to balance life's books each day.
So you live today as if it were your last.
Sort of, but not in a reckless way. The sources use this great analogy of a soldier preparing for deployment.
Okay, explain that. Because that sounds intense. It doesn't mean we should all just, live for today and forget tomorrow.
No, not at all. It means the opposite of recklessness. Think about it. A soldier about to deploy doesn't waste time.
Right. They prioritize.
Radically.
Oh.
They get their affairs in order, they make sure their loved ones know exactly how they feel, and crucially, they have absolutely zero time for petty arguments or old grudges.
All the energy goes to what actually matters.
That's it. The awareness of the end forces total clarity.
I can see that. But the sources also talk about something bigger, connecting this urgency to, what do they call it, the cosmic sublime. How do you make that leap from your daily to-do list to the whole cosmos?
Because once you accept your time is finite, you realize the most powerful thing you can do is expand your mind, your perspective.
You shouldn't spend your short time trapped in small worries.
Precisely. That's the call to get in your tiny boat, get into the ocean and explore. It's a metaphor for scaling up your thinking.
So instead of stewing over some argument from yesterday,
you radiate your mind outward. You think about the 14 billion year history of the universe, the origin of the planet, and suddenly your daily anxieties, they look pretty insignificant.
it's the ultimate reality check.
It really is. And, the sources give us what they call the bloody bookends of existence. Life starts with pain and yelling. We don't remember it, and it ends when the body just quits.
And we won't remember that either.
Exactly. So the takeaway isn't to be morbid. It's to be practical. Since the beginning and the end are outside of our memory, the only thing that matters is focusing all our energy on living right now.
But that's the thing, that urgency. It feels so hard to hold on to, we forget it almost immediately.
We have this collective amnesia. It's incredible. The sources use a really powerful contrast. Think about a moment of just pure presence.
Like on a holiday, maybe.
Yeah, or just a quiet moment. Marcus Aurelius apparently used to notice the way warm bread cracks open on top. Just a simple, perfect detail. Pure gratitude.
Okay, I get that feeling.
And then the very next day, it's gone. That appreciation is just discarded for a consumer frenzy. We trade presents for presents.
And that's where the conflict between living and just accumulating comes in.
It's a huge conflict. We have this staggering data point. Now, it's from the US, but it illustrates a global trend. On a single Cyber Monday, consumers will spend something like $14.2 billion.
Billions. On things we mostly don't need.
Exactly. And at the same time, in that same country, more than 47 million people, including almost 14 million kids, are food insecure. Now, this isn't a political point, it's an existential one.
It's a profound miscalculation of what's important.
We mistake accumulation for living. If you really knew your time was limited, would you spend it clicking add to cart?
It really challenges your sense of purpose. Marcus Aurelius believed we're here to do good for each other. If that's true, why is it so easy to forget?
Because we forget that being able to give is the real gift. Aurelius saw it as his greatest fortune, being in a position to help people in need. It's simple, really. If you've been blessed, be a blessing.
That urgency of service. It leads to some amazing examples in our sources. Let's talk about Abe Brown, the football coach.
Yeah, Abe Brown's a perfect example of this, a hugely successful coach. But he didn't retire to go play golf.
What did he do?
He spent 2 decades visiting prisoners in Florida, people that society had just completely written off, the forgotten ones.
People he called the least of these.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They rarely got visitors. His whole mission, he said, was just to raise them up just high enough to see the sunshine. It wasn't about reputation.
And that connects to what the coach John Wooden said, be more concerned with your character than your reputation.
Because your character is what you really are. Your reputation is just what other people think you are. And when you're facing the end, reputation means nothing.
Character is everything. But how does that translate to joy? Especially when you're struggling. Which brings us to my favorite story from the sources, the singing shoemaker.
Oh, it's such a beautiful lesson. So John Adams, back when he was living in Boston, kept hearing this incredible, joyful singing every morning.
And he tracks it down.
He does. And he finds this poor shoemaker in a tiny one-room house crammed in with his whole family, just obvious poverty.
So Adams, feeling sorry for him, orders a pair of shoes he doesn't even need, just as an act of charity.
Right. But the moment Adams leaves, what does the shoemaker do?
He starts singing again.
As beautifully as a nightingale. And Adams has this revelation. His charity was totally unnecessary. The man was already rich on the inside.
Adams later wrote, who was the greatest philosopher, Epictetus or this shoemaker? What was the secret?
The shoemaker just embodied the deepest Stoic truth, that the best cure for the body is a quiet mind. Happiness isn't out there in things you can buy. It's right here, in the present, even when it's hard.
So he confronted his reality and chose to make his play beautiful anyway.
That's the key. And that choice is always available. You know, we often feel paralyzed by what's happening today. We love to say we live in unprecedented times.
We use it as an excuse almost.
Right. But chaos and dysfunction, that's the default setting of history. Look at the people we're talking about.
Marcus Aurelius was dealing with a plague from the Far East and civil unrest.
Cato was watching political dysfunction literally tear the Roman Republic apart. Admiral James Stockdale was a POW in the Hanoi Hilton while the world outside was in turmoil.
It puts things in perspective. It reminds me of what President Truman said. There is nothing new in the world except the history you do not know.
And once you get your head around that, it's incredibly freeing. It connects you to everyone who has ever lived. We all share this.
Okay, so this is all great, but let's make it practical. For anyone listening, what are the actual steps you can take today to get this sense of urgency without just feeling anxious all the time?
The first step, and it's a big one, is forgiveness. The soldier analogy. When time is short, you can't afford to hold on to petty grudges. Just let them go.
Because you just don't have time for that anymore.
You don't. Clear it out. Then change your perspective on the mundane, the boring chores.
Like weeding the garden.
Don't see it as a chore. See it as nutrient harvesting. You're caring for your small patch of the earth for the limited time you have. It completely changes the quality of the task.
I love that. And the final big one seems to be about presence.
It is. Practice presence over accumulation. And forget jealousy and envy. It's such a waste of your precious limited hours. Nobody else's success takes anything away from you.
Focus on your own finite life.
And the abundance you already have.
It really all comes back to holding that beautiful contradiction. Our lives are fragile and temporary, but that's exactly what makes them a miracle.
It's why they're precious. Seneca put it perfectly. He said, "The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time."
That finishing touch is today. This is the time you have. So we'll leave you with the question all these sources are really asking. When your final act arrives, what will your play have been about?
Will it be about accumulating things and nursing old grievances? Or will it be about serving others, loving deeply, and living like you knew the clock was ticking all along?
The choice is yours. but tomorrow is promised to no one.